I ask you once again, why?
Okay, so I'm talking about Picard Season 2. You probably know what I'm going to say, but let's get to it. And let's get this straight out the way, I was really looking forward to Star Trek Picard Season 2. The trailers looked interesting. We knew we were getting the Borg and Q back, and I couldn't really wait for that. I was a little bit worried that the writers were going to muck it up, but as it was a new showrunner, I was willing to give these writers a chance and listen on what they have to say. But one thing that bothered me from the trailers was time travel, and that's because it seems to be used a lot in recent Trek. Discovery's jumped centuries ahead, Prodigy has a time travel element to it, and Strange New Worlds from Season 2 is already confirmed that we're getting Kirk travelling into the past with Lan. I hope that's getting overused too much. I mean, at the moment, daughter imprisonment is a trope that's second behind time travel, because we've got Sun locking his daughter up in this, and Mbenga doing it in Star Trek Strange New Worlds Episode 3. So I just wonder who's the producer that's pitching the daughter imprisonment line at the meetings going, okay guys, yeah, I like what we're going to do with these aliens and things, but there's an angle that will work in here. Can our character have a daughter that he does not let out? I know it's going to be difficult, but let's just do it. And also, I'm going to say I don't care. I don't particularly mean this show, but Star Trek is getting more Star Wars. And that has been a recent criticism from the fandom. But what I mean by that is, not in terms of the action things, I mean, yes, certainly that is happening, but we're getting more Star Trek than ever before at the moment, and we're getting more Star Wars than ever before at the moment. And we are getting that many shows and that many productions, there's going to be various levels of quality, and this one, for me personally, is right at the bottom of the bag. In fact, I hope there's a hole in the bag and it falls out so I can forget about it. But anyway, let's talk about the show. So, I initially thought that they were going to retcon a lot of what happened in Season 1, and it seems that they did from the opener. The first episode had me right until the very end, because Picard was Picard, he was back at Starfleet, he was still doing the thing at the chateau. We got the Stargazer, we got Rios back in Starfleet, we got Raffii there, we got Elnor there. And then the Borg shows up, and that's when they said they wanted to be allies, and as soon as I heard that, I was a bit, okay, where are they going to go with this? And then from the first episode it was clear that any of the time travel stuff was going to involve some element of Picard's mother or his past. So like most people, I thought that the Borg Queen may have been Picard's mother. Thinking about it now, that probably would have been a better ending than the one that we got, but I'll speak about that later on in the video. But this whole season was sold on the return of Q, and he wanted to teach Picard a final lesson. Or was it penance? Or was it forgiveness? Or was it acceptance? I can't remember, because he mentions them all in different contexts in relation to what he's doing. And although John de Lancie's performance, particularly in the last scene in the last episode, was phenomenal, Q was just wasted here. I mean, if you're going to bring back the first alien that they introduced in the Next Generation in 1987, who's our current character throughout this season and several seasons of Star Trek, you can do more with him than they got. But anyway, the crew end up in the alternative timeline, and that episode 2 I really enjoyed. I'd like to have more time spent there. Actually, I would like it if Picard had got stranded in the Confederate timeline and the others had to go back to 2024. That way we could have seen what this Picard's relationship was like with the Next Generation crew, Riker, Troy, Worf, all that stuff. What did they get up to? It probably wasn't very good. I would have liked to have found out. And if he'd kept Picard in the Confederate timeline, I know what some of you are going to say, it wouldn't have mattered because they were going to change time. And yeah, of course it wouldn't have mattered, so why not keep him there to explore this storyline? Because the whole arc of this season is they're going to have to reset whatever's gone wrong. So Picard in the alternative timeline being pretty evil and having to fit into that world would have been great. Raffii, Seven, Rios and the rest of them could have reset the timeline, and then everyone would be back to where it was. That's just my opinion, but let me know what you think you would have liked to have seen with a show in the comments below, because I'd like to hear from you. But when they do get back to 2024, this is where the show absolutely lost me. It became a mess of pointless stories trying to force different themes in, or as many themes as they could every week. In the space of 3 episodes, and these aren't all the themes, these are the ones that I just listed off the top of my head before I rewatched the episodes, was immigration, the environment, climate change, inner city poverty, family, depression, the healthcare system, sorry I'll say that again, the US healthcare system, and childhood trauma. That's not to mention the fact that Raffie's dealing with Elnor's death, because of course she is, she's angry for the entire season. In fact, her being angry from season 1 and season 2 is maybe the only thing that they carried over. But enough about the plots, let's get to the characters, and I'm going to start off with Agnes, and I think it's fair to say that she wasn't a fan favourite after season 1, what with all the murdering and all that, and she is back at it this season when the Borg Queen's in charge. But Jurati and Alison Pill were probably the highlights of this season. As an actress, she really showed her range. Her scenes with Annie Wershing that played the Borg, both when they're supposed to be in the same room and then again when she's imagining her, were brilliant. They played off each other really well, but it was obvious from episode 2 who the Borg or the future Borg Queen was going to be. And after that ending, well, I'll get to that. And then Elnor, he's dead, then he's not dead, then he's dead, who cares, let's move on. And Raffii and Seven, so yeah, I think Raffie's one of the worst characters that's ever been created in Star Trek. And Raffii and Seven are going to be in season 3, and who knows if they're going to be together or not. The entire relationship that we're supposed to care so much about happened between season 1 and 2, and I don't understand why they got rid of Rios and Agnes over these two. There's no real chemistry between them. I don't care about the relationship because I've never seen it. And Raffii is such a bad person that even her son wants nothing to do with her. And there's even a flashback scene where we see her manipulating Elnor into getting what she wants rather than what might be good for him, which leads to his death. But then again, whatever, he's back, he's not back, it doesn't matter. And as for 7 of 9, they literally reduce her to a soccer mum driving an SUV around LA to then become the captain of the Stargazer by the end of the season. When we meet her in season 2, she's still a Friendless Ranger, and we don't even know what that is. I mean, these guys could be the Mormons or Scientologists of space. She doesn't appear to have kept any relationships from Voyager, and we don't get any explanation as to why or what happened there. But hey, here's an idea. If you're going to bring back a Star Trek character, give them development. I mean, say for example, give us a Captain Kim, rather than a Wesley Crusher no one asked for 25 fucking years after he left the show. Because we've had 2 seasons now, and I get, okay, I'll give Raffii a bit of leeway because she's a new character, but the 7 of 9 that we're getting doesn't resemble the 7 of 9 that was in Star Trek Voyager. I know you're going to say it's been 20 years, etc, etc, but there's nothing to her at all. And I'm not sure if Michelle Hurd and Jeri Ryan are not particularly great actresses, or this is just bad writing. I think that's very debatable. I've not seen Michelle Hurd in anything else other than the odd episode of the early seasons of Law and Order, so I honestly don't want to rate my opinion on her on this one performance because it would be terrible. Jeri Ryan, I've seen her act. I mean, the episode of Star Trek Voyager where there's the Venculum and she's got the split personalities, she was phenomenal in that, and I don't think she got enough credit for what she'd done on Star Trek other than being eye candy, because let's be honest, that's the reason that she was brought on to sex up the show. But she did have a bit more depth to the character, and she certainly did explore that, and I'm sad that now we're getting 7 back, they never added any more depth to her beyond what we got. And Rios, you know, his story was interesting until it wasn't. He found the family and the crew and left them. And this is nothing against the actor Santiago Cabrera. He's great. I've loved him in a lot of things. I seen him in Heroes like 15 years ago and thought he was absolutely brilliant, and that's one of the best seasons of TV ever made. Don't rewatch Picard, watch the first season of Heroes. But then he was totally wasted, so I'm not going to spend my time talking about his character when the writers can't be willing to spend their time developing his character. Now, on to the villains. And Q, you know, you could say he's not really a villain in this, but I'm going to class him as one anyway. And yeah, I was excited to see him come back, but I was worried about what they were going to do. And sure, the scenes with he's with Picard are great, but considering he was the main selling point of this season, he wasn't really up to much. he was showing up here and there with vague plot points leading to bad ends, and the entire reason for doing what he's doing was truly bizarre. I didn't hate it, and it was what it was. And spoiler alert for season 3, John de Lancie's going to be back. In what capacity, I don't know. And while he probably did have one of the best scenes when he said goodbye to Picard, it was definitely the best acting in the show. This is all too late. Like, who is this for? Who wants this? There's so many Star Trek storylines that they could have gone down, and so many ways that they could have used Q better in any way other than this. Again, the lesson that he's teaching Picard seems to change every time he's going to pop up. And while I'm glad John de Lancie's back, I'm not glad what they done with Q. And while they did sort of ruin the Borg in this season, at least they did try and explain the Borg's past. I mean, the writing in this show is stupid, but they're smart enough not to try and do that. And then you remember the season 3. And soon, you know, whatever soon this is, I'm going to call him often used soon, another ancestor who looks like a member of the family. And you've got to ask yourself a question: with this happening with all the Soons and his daughter, and Talon and Laris and everything else, were the augments right? Was the eugenic wars just to diverse the galaxy? Because everyone just looks like everyone else, and that doesn't really make sense to me. But anyway. But yeah, was there a reason for Brett Spiner to play this guy? Was there a reason for this villain to be a Soon? He went from desperate dad to evil doctor to Doctor Evil to evil rich guy to evil dad to evil Tesla driver, and it was so all over the place that every week it felt like it was a soap opera and not Star Trek. And, you know, the stuff about his daughter, whatever, she never experienced the world till she did, and she had no anxiety over talking to people, or no disbelief when some bearded Will Wheaton shows up and tells her that aliens time travel, and sort of there's a tapestry to the galaxy in the way that time works that these guys monitor. And she just goes, yeah, okay, cool. Like, you've been locked in a basement, and again, the daughter imprisonment is now 2 for 2 on Star Trek shows, so yeah. I think you could have had a much more interesting villain if he wasn't a Soon, he wasn't played by Brett Spiner. That way, we at least might know what to expect and what not to expect, but like I say, Soon just felt totally disconnected to the rest of the story, and like everything else, like Rios for example, he was only used as he was needed to be. We never really got any sense on what he'd done to save the future, even though Agnes and Q mention it. And yeah, I'm not really sure, is this supposed to be like an evil Elon Musk or an evil Jeff Bezos? He's supposed to be talking about the dangers of science. What do you think? I mean, seriously, what do you think was going on with Soon? Because I've got no fucking idea. And then Renee and Talon, again, another ancestor who's a lookalike, and another ancestor who's got nothing to do with anything. I didn't like any of this. Renee, again, was important till she wasn't. She was in 1 episode, then out of 3. The whole thing with it ending and Talon taking her place, there was no emotional impact. The speeches were just boring. I mean, who actually talks like that? If someone sat you down and gave you one of those speeches, you would think they were the one that needed help, not you. And a few other things that bothered me about this season. Of course, bringing back the time cop that isn't the time cop. So that, I'm talking about Detective Wells. So if you don't know, the actor that played Detective Wells was in an episode of Star Trek Voyager in which he played a Starfleet officer from the future that recruited 7 of 9. So yeah, you think when you've got a cop called Wells, because H.G. Wells wrote The Time Machine and the future character's called a time cop, and 7 of 9 was in that episode and 7 of 9 is in this show, it would all connect in a really clever and interesting way and tie it all together. But no, he was just a guy with a weird name that didn't really do anything and spent an episode interrogating Picard. And yet, you know, the mental gymnastics that some of the Star Trek fandom has done to defend the writing in this show blows my mind. If you enjoyed this show, I want you to know I'm perfectly happy that you enjoyed it. I just want to understand what you got from it, because the way that the stories were written, the way that the plot points were hammered in and then forgotten, it just felt like one person was only reading a synopsis of the other writer's work. And we've not really spoken about the main thing yet, which was after 7 seasons, some very quality movies, a replacement body, we find out that a 100-year-old man can't stop thinking about his mother, who he never mentioned all the way through the 7 seasons of the show that he was on, despite the fact that he sat next to a counsellor almost every day. I mean, did we need this element of Picard? Did we want it? I'm pretty sure Patrick Stewart did. The entire plot seems written around this, and as you need him for Picard, you can't say no, so this is what we got. The speeches were plodding, the logic was weak. But the main thing that kind of lost me after 2 episodes is as soon as they go back to 2024, there's nothing Star Trek about the show. There was no new aliens, no mystery, just some plot over 3 days, where oddly enough, no one sleeps or eats while they're trying to solve this problem, which is a little weird. But yeah, once they go back to 2024, I mean, we get tricorders, we get medical technology that's so advanced, but yet a doctor from the 21st century could operate it. And yeah, again, the mental gymnastics that was done to defend this, all I'm going to say is, imagine you took your smartphone back to 1930. So that's not that far away, less than 100 years. They would have no idea how to work that, but a doctor from 2024 can operate 25th century technology. Yeah man, whatever. So the point that I'm trying to make here is that everything good about Star Trek isn't in this show. In the reveal about the Watchers and the Travelers being linked, we didn't learn anything new. This universe, this story didn't develop any further. We only found out about Picard's past, and that's not how you move a show forward. We know we're only going to get 1 more season, so why add this huge arc to his character that we're not going to get any real resolution to? Now, having re-watched this show, and all of the sort of 10 hours of television, man, all I'll say is it took me over a week to do it. So again, leave a like, that's why this video was late, because I really didn't want to, but I felt that I had to. What I will say is I'm not dreading season 3, but after the whole smirking Will Wheaton, who, yeah, he looked like he was trying to get you to join a sort of space-time cult rather than join some sort of interstellar police force, I've got no idea where they're going to go or what they're going to do. The good characters have been left behind, the bad characters have been taken over. Sure, we're getting the Next Generation crew back. What trauma are they going to give the Next Generation cast? You know, is Riker locking his daughter in that pizza oven? Is Worf an animal abuser? Who knows? We're going to have to wait and see. I'm going to do a video on my predictions of Season 3 when it does get closer to the time, because I have heard some reliable rumours about Deep Space Nine and things like that showing up. So subscribe to the channel to make sure that you don't miss it, and if you like hearing me complain about other shows in a more positive way. But yeah, like overall, I can't say that this is a good show. It's the worst season of Star Trek ever. It's probably one of the worst shows ever made, because when you think about it, if you took out all the elements of Star Trek, would you watch this show? Let me know when you think in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching. I'm Al.